She smiled when the judge said she'd get half of my company, half of my life's work. My son just stared at the floor, broken. They thought the old man was finished. They were about to learn that some foundations can't be cracked. The courtroom felt like an icebox. Cold air, cold marble floors. For 6 years, I watched my son Michael disappear. He was shrinking, fading away, poisoned by the woman sitting across from us. Now, the divorce was almost over. Michael sat next to me. He was pale, too thin. He looked like a ghost of the strong, happy man I raised. He kept picking at a loose thread on his sleeve, avoiding everyone's eyes. Across the aisle, Chloe sat like a queen. She wore a sharp white designer suit. Her smile was bright, but her eyes were dead. Predatory. Her lawyer, a slick man named Davis, adjusted his expensive tie. He looked bored, like this was already over. "Your Honor," Davis began. His voice was smooth, like oil. "The post-nuptial agreement is clear. My client, Mrs. Harrison, is entitled to 50%. 50%. Half of everything. This includes," Davis continued, "her rightful share of the family business." The family business. Harrison Construction. I built that company. Brick by brick, sweat and blood. It was my life's work, and she was trying to tear it down with one signature. Chloe looked right at me. She didn't just smile. She grinned. It wasn't happiness. It was victory. She tapped her long red nails on the table. Tap, 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 like a countdown. "Time to collect my share of the family fortune," she whispered. It was loud enough for the whole room to hear. Davis chuckled darkly beside her. They thought they had me. They thought the agreement Michael signed, the one Chloe pressured him into 3 years ago, was ironclad. They thought I was just a tired old man, ready to roll over and die. They were wrong. I knew something they didn't. I stood up. My knees ached, but my back was straight. "Your Honor," I said. My voice cut through the silence. I walked toward the bench. I held a thick manila envelope. "Before you finalize anything, I ask that you check the date on his signature." The courtroom murmured. Whispers bounced off the walls. Chloe's grin slipped. Just for a second. The judge opened the envelope. He looked annoyed at first. Then his eyes narrowed. He read the documents carefully. His face grew darker with every page he turned. A long moment passed. He looked up, his eyes blazing with sudden fury. "Bailiff," he commanded, his voice booming like thunder. "Arrest this woman. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up and tell you how we got here. How my world crumbled so quietly I almost didn't notice. It started 6 years ago. A warm summer evening. The kind that feels full of promise. Michael brought Chloe home to meet me. She was beautiful, stunning, really. Dark hair, eyes that seemed to sparkle. She laughed easily and hung on Michael's every word. He was completely gone for her. Smitten, I wanted my son to be happy. I truly did. But something felt wrong. It was subtle, like a hairline crack in a foundation. It wasn't what she said. It was her eyes. They didn't stay on Michael. They wandered, assessing the house. The furniture, the view. We were having dinner on my patio. It overlooked the city skyline. The skyline I helped build. "It's breathtaking, Robert," Chloe said, sipping her wine precisely. "Michael tells me you started with nothing." "It's so inspiring. Hard work and a bit of luck," I replied, trying to be humble. "Oh, I don't believe in luck," she laughed. It was a sharp sound, like shattering glass. "I believe in strategy and leverage." She leaned forward, her eyes intense. "Your portfolio is impressive, Robert, but I see so much untapped potential, especially in the downtown district." She wasn't just making conversation. She was assessing the assets. That was the first red flag. The first sign that this wasn't a love story. It was a business transaction. They were married within 6 months. The wedding was huge, extravagant. Chloe planned everything. Michael was blinded by love, or what he thought was love. I insisted on a prenuptial agreement, ironclad. It protected the core business and the family trusts. My lawyer said it was unbreakable. Michael resisted at first. "Dad, it feels like you don't trust her." "It's not about trust, son. It's about protection. For everyone." Chloe signed it without a fight. She smiled sweetly. "It's just paperwork, Robert. We're family now. But the look she gave me on the wedding day right after the ceremony, when she thought Michael wasn't looking, it was pure venom. I should have known then that the fight wasn't over. It had just begun. The pressure started quickly after the honeymoon. It was like a faucet dripping in the night. Slow, steady erosion. Chloe didn't just want to be part of the family. She wanted to control it. First, it was the isolation. Michael used to come over every Sunday for dinner, rain or shine. It was our tradition. Suddenly, they were always busy. I'd call him, "Hey, son, Sunday dinner? I'm making your favorite." He'd hesitate. I could hear her whispering in the background. "We can't, Dad. We have a gala. Chloe's friends are in town. We just need some time to ourselves, you know. Newlyweds." Excuses. They felt thin, hollow. He was slipping away, and I didn't know how to pull him back. When I did see him, she was always there, clinging to his arm like a vine, a beautiful parath, monitoring every word he said, filtering every interaction. He started looking tired, jumpy, his shoulders slumped. He stopped laughing. He was fading, right in front of my eyes. But that wasn't the worst part. Then came the spending. I understood she had expensive tastes. I'm not cheap. I like nice things too. But this was different. It was aggressive, almost angry. I bought them a house, a beautiful, historic home near the park. Solid bones, a place for them to start a family. Chloe hated it. I visited them a month after they moved in. The place was gutted. Dust everywhere. Workers were tearing down walls. "What's going on?" I asked, stepping over debris. Chloe stood in the middle of the chaos, holding a clipboard. She looked like a general surveying a battlefield. "We're renovating, Robert," she announced. "Renovating? The house was perfect. It's a classic." She wrinkled her nose. It felt old, Robert. Stuffy. It smelled like dust and regret. She pointed to a wall. "We need marble. We need light. This darkness is depressing." "Chloe, this house is historic. The craftsmanship." She cut me off. "Is outdated. Michael agrees." I looked at Michael. He was standing by the window, staring at his shoes. He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Michael?" I prompted. He shrugged. "Chloe knows what she's doing, Dad. She wants the house to be perfect for us. She was erasing our history, piece by piece, and Michael was letting her do it, desperate to keep her happy, desperate to avoid a fight. It felt less like a renovation and more like a hostile takeover. The changes weren't just at home. They'd bled into the company. I had made Michael a vice president. I wanted him to learn the business, to take over one day. Chloe started attending meetings, uninvited. We were discussing a major acquisition, a delicate negotiation. "We should push harder," Chloe interrupted, tapping her pen on the table. "Demand a lower price. They're weak. We can crush them." I stared at her. The boardroom went silent. "Chloe, this is a closed meeting." "I'm Michael's wife," she said sharply. "His interests are my interests." She was undermining my authority in my own boardroom. The board members shifted uncomfortably. I had to try and talk to him. I invited him to lunch. Just the two of us, at the old steakhouse we always loved. I had to practically schedule it through his secretary. He showed up late. He looked exhausted before the appetizers even arrived. Thin, pale. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up the menu. "Son, this spending. It's getting out of control," I said gently. I tried to keep my voice calm, and the changes at the company. "You're pushing good people away." "Loyal people." Michael stiffened. He put his fork down hard. His jaw tightened. He wouldn't look at me. "Chloe is just helping me step up, Dad," he said. His voice was strained, defensive, programmed. "Step up? How?" "She says you've been holding me back." The words hit me like a slap. "Holding you back? Michael, I built this for you? A title, Dad. Not real power." He finally looked at me. His eyes were cold, but the anger felt borrowed. They were Chloe's words coming out of his mouth. "Chloe says if I don't take control now, you'll never let go." He stood up, throwing his napkin on the table. It landed in his untouched food. "I don't need your permission to live my life, Robert. He called me Robert. Not Dad. Robert. That hurt more than anything. He walked out. He left me alone, with the bill, and a growing sense of dread. He was choosing her over me, over everything. I thought things couldn't get worse. I was wrong. The cracks in our family deepened. It wasn't just the big things anymore. It was the little cruelties. The insults disguised as jokes. We were at a company party, a celebration of our 30th anniversary. Everyone was there. Clients, employees, friends. Michael was talking to the mayor. He gestured enthusiastically and knocked over his drink. Red wine on a white tablecloth. It happens. No big deal. But Chloe made it a big deal. She laughed. That shattering glass sound again, loud enough for everyone to hear. Heads turned. "Oh, Michael," she sighed dramatically. She rushed over, dabbing at the spill with a napkin, treating him like a messy child. "He's so clumsy," she announced to the room, rolling her eyes fondly. But there was no fondness there. Only contempt. "Good thing he has me to take care of him. Right, Robert?" The guest chuckled nervously. The mayor looked awkward. Michael stood frozen, humiliated. In front of everyone, I saw the pain in his eyes, and the resignation. He was used to it. That realization chilled me more than her words. I should have defended him. I should have protected him. But the real betrayal was still waiting in the shadows. The first major blow hit me on a Tuesday morning. It wasn't personal. It was business. I was in a meeting with the board. We were reviewing the quarterly financials. My CFO, Frank, looked nervous. He kept shuffling his papers. Frank had been with me for 20 years. "Robert, we have some concerns," Frank said. His voice was tight. He wouldn't look me in the eye. "Concerns? About what?" "The numbers are good. It's about expenditures," Frank continued. "We've received reports that Michael has been authorizing large transfers without proper oversight." My blood ran cold. "What transfers?" I demanded. Frank slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Documents. Wire transfers. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Funneled into accounts I didn't recognize. Offshore accounts. Shell corporations. All signed by Michael. My son. Stealing from me. Stealing from the company. The room felt suddenly airless. I couldn't breathe. The room started spinning. I confronted him that night. I went to their renovated house. The marble fortress. It felt cold, sterile there. Michael was in his study. He looked surprised to see me, and scared. I threw the folder on his desk. Papers scattered everywhere. "What is this, Michael?" My voice was low, dangerous, shaking with anger and fear. He looked at the papers. He knew exactly what they were. He didn't even look surprised. He just looked tired. He didn't deny it. He broke down. He sat in his expensive leather chair and wept. "I didn't mean to, Dad," he whispered. "Ashamed. You stole from the company, from me. Michael, this is embezzlement. Chloe said we needed to diversify our investments." He sobbed. "She said you were too conservative, that we were missing out on huge opportunities. Diversify. Strategy. Leverage. The same words she used that first night." "And you believed her?" I shouted. "You gave her access to the company accounts, without asking me?" He looked up, his eyes red-rimmed. "She said if I didn't, it meant I didn't trust her." He paused. The next words were the knife twist. "She said I was weak, that I was still acting like your little boy, just like you always said." The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. She was using my own words against me. Things I'd said in frustration when he was younger, turning my son against his own father. She wasn't just stealing money. She was stealing my family. I confronted Chloe. I found her in the living room, the cold, white living room. She was sitting on a ridiculously expensive white sofa, sipping champagne, celebrating her victory. She didn't deny it. She didn't even blink. "I was protecting our future, Robert," she said coldly, before I even spoke. She examined her nails. Tap, tap. "Our future? Whose future?" "Michael deserves more than just being your errand boy. You stole from me. You stole from the company." My voice echoed off the marble floors. I borrowed, she corrected. Her eyes flashed with defiance. She stood up, smoothing her dress. And frankly, Robert, you should be thanking me. I'm modernizing this dinosaur of a company. She walked closer, her perfume overwhelming. And if you try to stop me, she whispered, her voice dripping with menace, I will make your life a living hell. I looked at her, really looked at her. There was nothing behind her eyes. No warmth, no love, no soul, just cold, calculating ambition. I realized then I wasn't dealing with a person. I was dealing with a predator, and she was hunting my son. I tried to protect the company. I implemented stricter financial controls. I locked down the accounts Chloe had access to. I marginalized Michael, taking away his authority. It hurt me to do it, but I had no choice. Chloe was relentless. She knew she still had Michael under her spell. She made his life miserable every time I pushed back. The fighting in their house escalated. I heard about it from neighbors. Screaming matches, doors slamming. Michael was trapped, caught in the middle, and I couldn't reach him. But even predators make mistakes. Chloe got sloppy. Then the inevitable happened. The thing I prayed wouldn't. Michael discovered Chloe's infidelity. It wasn't just one affair. It was several. It turned out those huge investment opportunities she talked about, they were covers for her romantic escapades. She was using the money she stole from us to fund her secret life. I remembered the night he called me. His voice was broken, shattered. Dad, can you come over? Please. I arrived at the house. It was dark, silent. I found Michael in the kitchen, sitting at the marble island, his phone open on the counter. He didn't say anything. He just showed me the screen. Emails, text messages, hotel receipts, photos. The images burned into my memory. Chloe with other men, smiling, laughing. The evidence was overwhelming. Michael finally looked at me. His face was hollow. I thought she loved me, Dad. My heart broke for him. He confronted her. He expected remorse, tears, begging for forgiveness. He got none of that. They were in the kitchen. Michael was shouting, waving the papers in her face. Chloe was calmly making a smoothie. I needed something you couldn't give me, Michael, she said coldly. As the blender whirred, excitement, passion, love, loyalty, Michael shouted. Don't be so dramatic, she sighed. You're just boring, weak, just like your father. She walked out, leaving him alone in the ruins of his life. Michael finally broke. The spell was shattered. He saw her for what she truly was, a monster. He filed for divorce the next day. I was relieved. It was over. The nightmare was finished. We were finally free. We could start healing, but Chloe was just getting started. The real nightmare was about to begin. The divorce proceedings began. They were brutal. Chloe hired Davis, the best lawyer money could buy. We were confident. The prenup was ironclad. She would get a settlement, but the company was safe. Then Davis dropped the bomb. We were in a mediation meeting. Our lawyers were there. Michael looked relieved, like a weight had been lifted. Chloe looked calm, too calm. We need to discuss the division of assets, Davis said smoothly. We have a prenup, my lawyer replied. The division is already settled. But we have a postnuptial agreement, Davis said, grinning. This supersedes the prenup. He slid a document across the table. A postnuptial agreement? I had never heard of it. I read it. My blood froze. It was dated 3 years ago. October 15th. It stated that in the event of a divorce, Chloe was entitled to 50% of everything Michael owned. His shares in the company, the house, the investments, everything. 50%, Bigita, of everything I built. It was a death sentence for Harrison Construction, and it was signed by Michael. I stared at the document, my heart pounding in my chest. This couldn't be happening. I don't remember signing this, Michael insisted when our lawyers showed it to him. His face was pale. He was shaking. I would never sign this, Dad. Tell them. It's your signature, Michael, our lawyer said gently. His voice was grim. We had an expert check it. It's authentic. We were cornered, trapped. Chloe had planned this from the beginning. She hadn't just married Michael. She had infiltrated our lives, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We were losing. The judge seemed inclined to honor the agreement. Chloe was winning. Again, but Chloe's cruelty wasn't just strategic. It wasn't just about the money. It was personal. She enjoyed causing pain, and she saved her most vicious act for the most innocent victim. My mother, Michael's grandmother. She suffers from advanced dementia. She's 85. Frail, she lives in a specialized nursing home. A beautiful place. Peaceful. She rarely recognizes us. She lives in a world of confused memories, lost in the past, but she loves hearing about the family, especially the lakeside cabin. We spent every summer there when Michael was growing up. It was her happy place, her sanctuary, her anchor in the storm of her mind. One afternoon, I went to visit her. The nurse, a kind woman named Emily, stopped me at the door. She looked worried. "Mr. Harrison, your mother is very agitated today," Nurse Emily said. "She hasn't stopped crying." "What happened? Is she okay?" "She had a visitor earlier," Emily said, lowering her voice. "A young woman. She insisted on seeing her alone. It was only for a few minutes. But when she left, your mother was hysterical." My blood ran cold. A knot formed in my stomach. "Chloe?" Nurse Emily nodded grimly. I walked into the room. My mother was sitting by the window, rocking back and forth. Tears were streaming down her face. She looked terrified. "Mom, what's wrong?" I asked softly. I knelt beside her chair, took her frail hand in mine. She looked at me. Her eyes were cloudy, but filled with a terror I hadn't seen before. A lucid, sharp fear.
"They're taking the lake, Robert. They're taking the lake away."
My blood boiled. I found out later exactly what happened. Nurse Emily overheard some of it. The rest I pieced together. Chloe had gone into the room, sat down, smiled at my frail, confused mother. "Hello, Grandma," she had said, her voice dripping with fake sweetness. "I have some news. Michael and I are divorcing, and I'm taking half of everything." My mother just stared at her, confused. She didn't understand. "That means the company, the house, all of it," Chloe continued. Her voice turned sharp and cruel. "And you know that little cabin you love so much? The one by the lake?" My mother's eyes lit up, a flicker of recognition. "The lake? Yes, the lake," Chloe sneered. "I'm selling it." She leaned in close, enjoying the distress in my mother's eyes. "I'm going to tear down that dump, that pile of old wood. And I'm going to build something new," she continued. "A nightclub, loud music, flashing lights, lots of champagne, a place for beautiful people." She delivered the final blow with a smile. "Your precious legacy is garbage, old woman, and I'm burning it all down." She laughed as my mother began to cry, lost and terrified in the face of such calculated cruelty. If this story is keeping you hooked, drop a like. It was that moment I realized this wasn't just about money. It was about my family's soul. That was the moment something inside me snapped. A cold, hard resolve settled in my chest. My mother's peace, my son's future. I wasn't just going to fight Chloe, I was going to destroy her. I went back to my office. I looked at the post-nuptial agreement again and again. Michael insisted he didn't sign it, but the experts confirmed the signature. Something wasn't right. The pieces didn't fit. I stared at the date, October 15th, 3 years ago. I tried to remember that day. Where was I? Where was Michael? Then it hit me. Michael was in Chicago, a conference. He flew back late that night. I remembered because his flight was delayed. I picked him up from the airport. He was exhausted. When could he have signed this, and where? The timeline was wrong. I called my lawyer. "I want the best forensic document analysts in the country," I said. "I don't care what it costs. I want them to look at that agreement again." "Robert, we already checked the signature," my lawyer argued. "Check it again, not just the signature," I insisted. "The paper, the ink, everything. I want to know when that document was created." I also hired a private investigator. Arthur Vance, former police, gruff, old school, thorough. I met him in a diner. He was drinking black coffee, His eyes missed nothing. I want to know everything about Chloe's life before she met Michael, I told him. Where she worked, who she knew, who she talks to, where she spends her money, every secret she has. Vance nodded. I'll find the dirt, Mr. Harrison. There's always dirt. I was hunting the hunter. The investigation took weeks. We were running out of time. The final divorce hearing was approaching. Chloe was already celebrating. She was all over the society pages, talking about her new future, her new ventures. I was pacing in my office, waiting, praying for a miracle. The morning of the final hearing, the forensic analyst called me. Her name was Dr. Lena Hansen. Precise, professional. Her voice was excited. Mr. Harrison, you were right to question this, Dr. Hansen said. The signature is indeed your son's. We confirm that. My heart sank. But there's something very strange about the ink. My heart pounded in my chest. What do you mean? It's a specialized type of ink, she explained. Often used in sophisticated forgeries. It's designed to age rapidly under UV light. It makes the ink look years older than it actually is. So it's a forgery? I asked, confused. Not exactly, she said. We tested the ink on the rest of the document. It's the same batch. The document is real. The paper is real. The signature is real. But it wasn't signed 3 years ago. She paused for effect. Based on the chemical composition and the degradation rate, we estimate this document was signed no more than 18 months ago. 18 months ago, not 3 years. 18 months ago, long after the date on the paper, at a time when Michael was struggling, when Chloe was pressuring him relentlessly, when their marriage was already falling apart. But why did Michael sign it, and why didn't he remember? The signature was real. The puzzle pieces were there, but the picture was still incomplete. That's when Arthur Vance, the private investigator, called. He had the final piece of the puzzle. Robert, we found something interesting about Chloe's past, he said. His voice was gravelly, grim. Go on. She worked briefly for a chemist before she got into real estate. A shady guy, lost his license. Specialized chemicals, including the components of that aging ink. The chemist, the specialized ink. It was connected. And there's more, Vance continued. We tracked down some purchases she made 18 months ago, around the time the document was actually signed. Credit card receipts, pharmacy records. What did she buy? I asked, my heart pounding. High doses of benzodiazepines, Vance said. Strong sedatives. Rohypnol, the date rape drug. The blood froze in my veins. The picture snapped into focus. Horrifying, clear, she drugged him. She drugged my son, put the agreement in front of him, guided his hand, forced him to sign it. That's why he didn't remember. That's why his signature looked real, but slightly shaky. It wasn't just fraud. It was assault. I had everything I needed. The forensic report, the investigator's findings, the proof of her monstrous betrayal. I put the documents into a thick manila envelope. My hands were steady. My resolve was absolute. It was time to burn her down. The courtroom was electric. Packed. The air crackled with tension. Michael sat beside me, pale and thin. He looked terrified. Defeated, across the aisle, Chloe sat radiating triumph. Immaculate, her smile sharp and predatory, Davis was in the middle of his closing arguments. Pompous, arrogant, painting Chloe as a victim. A devoted wife cast aside by a cruel husband. The post-nuptial agreement is clear, Your Honor, Davis declared, gesturing dramatically. Mr. Michael Harrison made a commitment to his wife, and he must honor it. The law is the law. He looked at the judge, oozing sincerity. My client is entitled to 50% of the assets, including her rightful share of the family business. The family business. My legacy. In her hands. Chloe looked right at me. That predator's grin spread across her face. She tapped her nails on the table. Tap, 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 tap. To collect my share of the family fortune, she whispered. Davis laughed. They thought they had won. They thought the agreement was ironclad. They were wrong. That's when I stood up. The courtroom went silent. All eyes were on me.
Your Honor, I said.
My voice was strong and steady. I walked to the bench. My eyes locked on Chloe. Her smile wavered. Just for a second, a flicker of uncertainty. She knew something was wrong. I handed the envelope to the judge. Before you finalize anything, I ask that you check the date on his signature. The courtroom murmured. Confusion. Curiosity. Davis objected immediately. He jumped to his feet. Objection. Your Honor, this is highly irregular. The validity of the agreement has already been established. This is a desperate tactic. He was panicking. Good. Sit down, counsel, the judge commanded, his voice sharp. His eyes were already scanning the documents. The silence stretched, heavy, suffocating. The only sound was the rustling of paper. The judge read the documents, his expression shifting from impatience to intense focus. He read the forensic report, his face growing darker with every page. Then he turned to the investigator's findings, the pharmacy records. He looked up. His face was a mask of cold fury. He looked directly at Chloe. Mrs. Harrison, he began. His voice was dangerously low. This report from Dr. Lena Hansen states that the ink used in this agreement is a specialized type, designed to appear older than it is. Chloe went pale, her designer mask slipping. Her makeup suddenly looked clownish. That's ridiculous. It's a lie. He paid them to say that. She looked at Davis. Do something? It also states, the judge continued, ignoring her outburst, that this document was signed no more than 18 months ago, not 3 years ago as claimed. Davis was sweating now. He tugged at his collar. Your Honor, we need time to review these findings. This is an ambush. But the most damning evidence, the judge said, his voice rising, is this sworn affidavit from Mr. Arthur Vance, detailing your purchase of high doses of sedatives, benzodiazepines, rohypnol, around the time this document was signed. He looked at Michael. His expression softened slightly. With pity, Mr. Harrison, you claimed you didn't remember signing this agreement. It appears there is a very good reason for that. Michael looked at me, shock and horror dawning on his face, the realization hitting him full force. He finally understood. She drugged me, he whispered. The realization shattered him. The words choked with emotion. Chloe realized she was cornered. The trap had sprung. She sprang to her feet, her mask finally falling away, revealing the monster underneath. He's lying, she screamed, pointing a shaking finger at me. Her voice shrill, hysterical. He set me up. He's trying to steal my money. That agreement is valid. She was raving, desperate. I deserve that fortune. I earned it. What you deserve, Mrs. Harrison, the judge said, his voice booming with authority, is a prison sentence. The words landed like hammer blows. You have perpetrated a fraud upon this court, the judge continued. You have manipulated and abused your husband. You drugged him. You forced him to sign a fraudulent document. And you did it all for money. He looked at her with utter contempt. He slammed his gavel down. The sound echoed like a gunshot. The post-nuptial agreement is hereby invalidated. The original prenuptial agreement stands. Chloe gasped, her fortune vanishing before her eyes. Mrs. Harrison is entitled to nothing beyond what is stipulated in that document, the judge finalized, which was basically nothing. Chloe lunged forward, her face twisted in rage. You can't do this. I won't let you. That money is mine. The judge looked at the bailiff, his eyes blazing with fury. Bailiff, arrest this woman. Charges, fraud, perjury, and assault with a controlled substance. 2 bailiffs grabbed Chloe. She fought them, screaming threats and curses. She was dragged out of the courtroom, her expensive heels scraping against the marble floor. The sound echoed long after she was gone. The silence that followed was beautiful. Michael was shaking uncontrollably. I put my arm around his shoulder, holding him tightly. He leaned into me, burying his face in my jacket. He wept, tears of relief, grief, and profound sadness. It's over, son, I whispered. It's finally over. Weeks later, Michael and I drove up to the lakeside cabin. I had made sure it was protected. secured in a trust that no one could ever touch. Safe from the world, the air was crisp and clean, smelling of pine needles and fresh water. The cabin looked the same as it always had. Solid, warm, a beacon of memory in a cold world. We sat by the water, on the old wooden dock. The silence was comfortable between us. Michael was healing, slowly coming back to life. The color had returned to his face. The haunted look in his eyes was starting to fade. "I still can't believe I let her do that to me, Dad," he said quietly, skipping a stone across the smooth water. "I feel so stupid, so weak." "You weren't stupid, Michael," I replied. "You were trusting. You wanted to see the good in her. You wanted to believe in love. That's not a weakness." I paused. "Love can make us blind, but it can also make us strong. But I almost lost everything." He looked at the cabin. "Everything you built. Everything Grandma loved. But you didn't," I said firmly, "because we fought back, together. Family protects family." He looked at me. Small, genuine smile touched his lips. The first real smile I had seen in years. "Thank you, Dad, for everything. Always, son. Always." We visited my mother later that day. We brought her pictures of the cabin, the sunlight on the water, the pine trees. "The lake is safe, Mom," I whispered in her ear. I held her hand. It felt papery and frail. "It's still ours. It always will be." She looked at the pictures. Her eyes cleared for a moment. A flicker of recognition, of peace. "The lake," she whispered, smiling faintly. "Beautiful." As I watched Michael talking gently to his grandmother, holding the pictures for her, I realized that this was the real family fortune. Not the money, not the buildings, not the empire I built. It was this: the love, the loyalty, the resilience that bound us together. Chloe thought she could take it from us. She thought she could buy it, steal it, destroy it. But she learned the hard way that some things are not for sale. Some things are priceless. And some foundations are built too strong to ever be broken. Thanks for listening. Please rate our story in the comments. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe. Your support means a lot because your time matters.